homogeneous bacterial chromosome, but it carries more base pairs as compared to the conventional vectors, that is the plasmids, cosmids, etc. It can be purified and it is used for the mapping and sequencing of mammalian genomes. Back in action, here you have this F plasmid. Since it is based on the F plasmid, this is bacterial artificial chromosome. Here we have got cloning sites. So the restriction endonuclease causes staggered break. That is, there are overhangs. Here is the overhangs on this side, and here is the overhang on this side, and these are the sticky ends. So similarly cut DNA will come and adhere to this stretch of the DNA to these sticky ends, and this attachment is imparted permanence by DNA ligase. That is, this adhesion is stabilized by the enzyme DNA ligase that we have seen in our earlier lectures. And now this is the recombinant back, that is bacterial artificial chromosomes having alien DNA, having desired stretch of the DNA, having DNA that has to be transformed, transferred to a particular cell, and after electroporation, that is the transfer into the electroporation is a method of transferring these recombinant DNAs inside the cell, and this electroporation makes the barrier, this wall, permeable, and it facilitates the uptake of the DNA. So after transformation, after ensuring attachment of the desired stretch of the DNA, we can facilitate its entry into the cell, and we can identify these cells by agar containing chloramphenicol. So we had seen earlier that here chloramphenicol resistant element is already there inside the bacterial artificial chromosomes. So due to the presence of chloramphenicol resistant genes, that is the gene which provides resistance to the chloramphenicol, if this bacterium is grown in a medium which is having chloramphenicol, it will grow, whereas the other bacteria will perish. So this chloramphenicol resistant gene is a selectable marker because we can select the transformed cell on the basis of presence of the chloramphenicol resistant gene, which is expressed as the survival of the transformed bacterium even while there is chloramphenicol present in the medium, whereas all other bacteria which don't have the chloramphenicol resistant gene, as we have in the bacterial artificial chromosome, will simply perish. Now, ist artificial chromosome, YAC or ist artificial chromosome. Sorry. Ist artificial chromosome is a human engineered DNA molecule. Since it is artificial, it is not natural, it has been devised by the human beings, which can carry up to 1 million nucleotide base pairs. So earlier we were carrying thousands of nucleotides base pair. Now we have the capacity to carry 1 million nucleotide base pair. As we have constructed back, we can construct YAC also by incorporating desired elements inside the ist chromosome. But this this chromosome is transformed into a linear chromosome. The bacterial artificial chromosome or the BAC was a circular chromosome. Here also the chromosome, as you can see in the picture, is a circular one, but we will transform it into a linear chromosome with centromere, with telomere, and the centromere provides the location for attachment of the kinetochore, and so it will act as a separate identity. It will act as a separate chromosomal entity which can segregate, which can multiply too. So it has also got a oocyte which is represented by autonomously replicating sequence, ARS. Autonomously replicating sequences or ARS are the site of origin. So it consists of telomere, that is the cap at the end of the chromosomes, at the both ends. Then centromere is centromere, which provides for the attachment of kinetochore and spindle apparatus, and then autonomously replicating sequences which act as site of origin, that is oocyte. So here oocyte is represented by autonomously replicating sequences. Here you have got centromere, here EcoR1, that is integration site. By cutting this sequence through EcoR1, we can allow the integration of the gene of our choice, the stretch of DNA of our choice, which is to be propagated, which is to be delivered. Then we have selectable marker by which we can identify the transformed cells. And here we have got telomere. Here you have also got telomere. And just ahead, just adjacent to the site of telomere, there is a BAMH1 site here also and BAMH1 site here also. So this is the site for restriction endonuclease. So what happens while constructing the artificial chromosome? We cut these two sites and segregate this stretch of DNA. So here you have got circular DNA, circular artificial chromosome, you can say. But when we cut this stretch or excise this stretch of DNA, so we have excised this stretch of DNA. You see, this is the excised stretch of DNA. Then what is left? This telomeric site, this telomeric site, and this telomeric site. So this has been excised, it has been cut off by the BAMH1, and then we have the chromosome having two telomeres here. Telomeres at the both ends. Then we have origin, that is ARS site here. Then we have site of origin, and then we have site of origin here, and then here is the EcoR1 site. here we can integrate the DNA of our choice. So DNA of our choice can be integrated here at this site. And so that's how we have got this artificial chromosome having the desired stretch of DNA which is to be delivered. So another view that how this YAC is formed and how it functions. YAC means this artificial chromosomes. So here, origin of replication, centromere, it helps in replication, that is the chromosome is able to make its own copy. Here we have got centromere, which facilitates the attachment to the spindle apparatus. Here you have got EcoR1 site, which facilitates the integration of desired stretch of DNA. And here you have got selectable marker, by which we can identify the transformed cells, that we can identify the cell having this artificial chromosome. And here you have got telomeres at the two end, and here you have got BAM-H site. So this BAM-H susceptible sequence is eliminated. So it has been digested out. Now the remaining stretches having telomere at this end and telomere at that end, then origin of replication, then centromere, and then here you have got EcoR1 site. Now this EcoR1 site is cut. That is, the restriction endonuclease EcoR1 cuts it, and here you have got the fragments, and the fragment of genomic DNA that is to be cut off, that has to be replaced. So it has been cut off, and here you see an entirely new fragment of DNA. You see here, this sequence it was not there. This sequence was not there. You see here that this stretch was not there. So this stretch of the DNA has been integrated by cutting and digesting this original fragment. So fragments of genomic DNA by light digestion with EcoR1. Here you have fragmented it out. Here there was site for EcoR1. You see here, here was the site for EcoR1. So it has been digested, and it has been digested out, and in its place, a new segment, new DNA has been inserted. And now we have got the ist artificial chromosome. That's how we have got the ist artificial chromosome with the insert, that is with the choice of DNA which we wanted to carry to the new site, which we wanted to transfer to the new site, and now it has been entered, and so it acts. Now, we have come to the ultimate of the artificial chromosomes, and that is human artificial chromosome, or HAC. So here we have human artificial chromosome, that is HACs. HACs are mainly the chromosomes and they can be transferred. They are artificial chromosomes which are transferred from by means of microcell mediated chromosomes, MMCT transferred, and they carry the desired stretch of DNA to the system, and they can literally carry any length of the insert, and that insert could be carried to the new system, and there they can function autonomously. And not only that, they lead to the expression of the inserted gene, but also its replication and its transfer to the offspring cells when division takes place. So why do we resort to hack? So why hack? We had BAC, we had PAC, we had YACs. Now, why we go for this hack? Now, let's see that these gene delivery vectors having following properties. They have high transformation efficiency, as we have seen earlier. This incorporation of this gene, its multiple copy formation, and leads to its integration into the chromosome. And this will cause a disruption in the structure of this chromosome. And so it may adversely affect the function of this chromosome. So it may lead to the mutagenesis, it may lead to the carcinogenesis, it may lead to the disruption of the normal karyotype. But here you see here also, if it has been integrated, there is unpredicted copy numbers. They may be produced in multiplicity if we simply insert the cloned DNA with a promoter site. The cloned DNA may produce uncontrolled copy numbers. Numerous copies might be produced, and they will have adverse impact on the cellular metabolism and may ultimately disrupt the cell. So instead of transferring a new stretch of DNA and ensuring its integration and expression, they will adversely impact the normal functioning of the cell. They will disrupt the genome of the cell by getting integrated and affecting the normal stretch of the DNA, that is leading to the mutagenesis. They may lead to the activation of cancer genes, oncogenesis. They may lead to elicit of immune responses, that is promote immunogenicity. And to avoid these risks, we can go for hacks. And the most remarkable utility of the hacks is that it can carry a literally unlimited stretch of DNA, unlimited longer stretch of DNA. So in case of earlier artificial chromosomes, there was a cap on the stretch of DNA which could be carried this long, that long, and that long. Here, we can carry an unlimited stretch of DNA. So the hack is the most useful in that sense too. So no risk of cellular transformation. No risk of cancer cells, no risk of stimulation of host immune system, etc., etc. We have discussed it earlier too. Now, so hack, the human artificial chromosomes are extra chromosomes. Of course, they are not the natural. They are in addition to what we are having. So they are extra chromosomes having all the required components. As we have seen that the most required components are what? There should be centromere. There should be site of origin, there should be telomere. So these elements, telomeres provide stability, centromeres provide site for attachment, oocytes provide the replication, and that's how the artificial chromosome can enter a cell carrying desired stretch of DNA. It will replicate itself, segregate itself, and while the cell divides, it will be transferred to the two offspring cells too, daughter cells too. So stability is maintained here. And not only that, due to this stability, they act as the 47th chromosome. So they can be produced, human artificial chromosomes can be produced in two ways. They can be produced by manipulating the pre-existing chromosomes, or they can be produced de novo, that is all anew too. So the existing strategies of human artificial chromosomes can be divided into two classes. So two classes are, that is the top-down. So based on the truncation, top-down approach and bottom-up approach, there are two approaches. So in the top-down approach, what we do is that we truncate the existing chromosomes. That is, we cut short the existing chromosomes, and then we add the desired segment of DNA, desired stretch of DNA, and that's how you can say we produce mini chromosome, and that chromosome can be introduced into the medium, into a system, and it is able to divide because it is having all the necessary components that a chromosome needs for its survival. Then there is a bottom-up approach. In this bottom-up approach, we produce a chromosome de novo. We produce a new chromosome, you can say artificial chromosome, based on kinetochore assembly from. So first, we have already studied that there is a alpha satellite DNA inside the centromere. So the rallying point of the development of a new chromosome, that is the bottom-up approach, is that we insert a alphoid unit which is about 50 to 100 kilobases long. So we introduce 50 to 100 kilobases not long alpha DNA, alpha satellite DNA, and you know that alpha satellite DNA, that is the DNA having 171 base pair long repeating units. So these DNAs, they form the core around which the centromere will develop, and to this centromere, the kinetochore will get attached. So these are multimerized. So when we enter this long alpha satellite, they will be multimerized in humans with size approximately 1 to 3 MB. So we have introduced how much long alpha DNA? The alpha satellite DNA, 50 to 100 kilobases, but this 50 to 100 kilobases long alpha satellite DNA will act as a rallying point, which act as a core around which multimerization will take place, and with it leads ultimately to the development of 1 to 3 MB long alpha satellite stretch. So the top-down approach involves modification, as I have discussed. In that bottom-up approach, we first introduce a nucleus of about 50 to 100 kilobase, which this nucleus satellite DNA, alpha satellite DNA, it acts as a nucleus for multimerization, and it ultimately multimerizes into 1 to 3 MB. And it leads to the formation of centromere to which kinetochore attaches. Desirable characteristics include stable epigenetic maintenance, that is, they are stably maintained outside the chromosome, normal karyotype, outside the normal chromosomal complement, and single copy due to the presence of centromere. Since there is a centromere, single copy, single centromere, they will have single copy, the capacity to carry large genomic loci with their regulatory elements. So they not only can carry the stretch of DNAs, but also cis regulatory elements, that is the associated regulatory elements. And this carrying of DNA along with cis regulatory elements will facilitate the expression of the DNA. And so the human artificial chromosomes can facilitate not only the transfer of a longer stretch, of an unlimited longer stretch of DNA, but since it has the capacity to carry far more longer stretch of DNA, it also carries the adjacent regulatory units, elements, and those regulatory elements, since they are carried along with this stretch of DNA, they facilitate the expression of that stretch of DNA. Now, there is a new, relatively new development, which is TAR. There is a problem in identifying the desirable stretch of DNA and integrating that desirable stretch of DNA to a site which we desire. So we have developed a vector, capture vector, you can say, which can capture the desired stretch of DNA and carry that desired stretch of DNA to a particular site which we try to offload, we have the goal to offload it at a particular site. So the TAR is a new device which can not only isolate a particular desired stretch of DNA, but also transfer that desired stretch of DNA at a particular site. And it has been very helpful in development of artificial chromosomes having the desired stretch of DNA. So what is TAR? TAR is transformation associated recombination. Transformation associated recombination, and it acts as a capture vector. Okay, so it captures a particular stretch of DNA designed with arms that are homologous to the boundaries of the target genes. So the TAR has two hooks, or two termini of the TAR acts as hooks which get attached to the termini of the gene which we are trying to take off from a particular length of the DNA, from a particular stretch of the DNA. So we can first see at this diagram. Then we can understand how TAR works. So here we have a clumsy stretch of DNA. And in this stretch, we have to carry this stretch and insert it into a particular artificial chromosomes. So here you have got TAR vector, you have got hook 1, hook 2, and in this cassette, you have got a selectable marker. That selectable marker is HIS3. Then you have centromere, CEN6 is centromere here, and a few other sites. These hooks are the most potent weapon of this TAR. These hooks can identify the ends of the desirable fragment of gene which we are trying to take off from a clumsy stretch of the DNA. So what we have to do, we have to identify and extricate, excise this stretch of the DNA from this whole DNA fragment or genomic stretch. So these hooks are compatible, that is, they are recombination compatible. That is why it is called transformation associated recombination. That is the recombination which facilitates the transformation. So these hooks can recombine to these two ends. They are compatible. They can very much identify these two ends and get attached. So this is the TAR vector. We have got hook 1, hook 2. And when we put these in the system, this TAR will get attached. Here you see homologous recombination is taking place between the hooks, and these hooks have extricated this stretch of DNA. You see that from this unwieldy stretch, this clumsy stretch of DNA, only that length of DNA had been extricated out, which was desired to be transferred, by which this capture vector TAR. This TAR had two hooks, and these hooks recombine with the two ends. So you see here that when TAR has been introduced into the system, co-transformation into this, what will happen? Recombination takes place at this end, and this stretch of the DNA which was to be transferred has been extricated here, and you can see this TAR, YAC or BAC plus the desired stretch of the DNA, and this can be transferred as this entire reaction was taking place in the yeast cell without the cell wall, and now they can be transferred to artificial chromosome or bacterial artificial chromosome. So we have got the region of interest, and this TAR can be utilized also to transfer a desirable set of DNA to the human artificial chromosomes too. So here in this collateral, though we were not directly concerned with the TAR, since the TAR has come handy in identification and extrication of desired stretch of DNA and its transfer to the locus which we desire. It is a very useful, very useful capture vector for capturing the desired stretch of DNA, and it has been developed and utilized not only in development of artificial chromosomes and bacterial artificial chromosomes too, as we have seen in that diagram, but also in the development of human artificial chromosomes in bottom-up approach in de novo development, that is, in development of the human artificial chromosome, a fresh, a new human artificial chromosome. So we can see in this section multiple uses of TAR. So let's have a broad idea of TAR. So it is useful in a number of ways: synthetic biology, comparative genomics, diagnostics, etc. So TAR is a very new tool having all pervasive use. That is, it can be used for many purposes, and you can say that TAR is a multitasking apparatus for capturing, transferring, studying, comparing the genomics, etc. Now, how TAR aids into human artificial chromosome formation, how human artificial chromosomes can be constructed with the help of TAR. And this construction is the de novo construction, that is the bottom-up approach. That is, we are not modifying a pre-existing chromosome, rather we are constructing a new chromosome afresh. So the TAR cloning allows the construction of synthetic arrays of alpha DNA. So as we have seen earlier, that we construct the bottom-up approach is the approach to construct a human artificial chromosome de novo afresh. And the first point was that we transferred the alphoid satellite DNA of about 100 to 50 to 100 base pairs. So we have seen here that 50 to 100 kilobases, not base pairs, kilobase pairs. So this 50 to 100 kilobase pair is to be transferred first. So how will we identify, or how will we able to extricate that long base pair of DNA? So that can be extricated with the help of TAR. The two hooks of TAR will get recombined to the two ends of the alphoid DNA, and they will bring that alphoid DNA to the desirable system, and that length of the alphoid DNA will act as the nucleus on which multimerization will take place, and ultimately a centromeric characteristic will be imparted. So TAR cloning allows the construction of synthetic arrays of alphoid DNA with a predetermined structure, which may be then used as a substrate for human artificial chromosome formation. So as we have seen in the human artificial chromosome, the first step was the introduction of alphoid satellite DNA. So TAR may help in the transfer of alphoid satellite DNA, and that's how it will provide a site for multimerization and ultimately leads to the human artificial chromosome formation. This approach starts with a short alphoid multimer, as we have seen earlier, that a alphoid multimer will be transferred, and that is assembled by in vivo homologous recombination NIST. As we have seen that the desired stretch of DNA is transferred in NIST by the TAR capture vector. So it will lead to the homologous transformation will lead to the introduction of that satellite DNA, alphoid satellite DNA. The minimum size of array that is required for the de novo is about 40 kilobases. After transfection of such synthetic array, that is after introduction of alphoid array called by the TAR cloning into human cells, de novo HOCs are generated. When we introduced alphoid satellite DNA, I have dealt with in detail while dealing with the centromere. So these are 171 base pair long, tandemly repeated sequence of satellite DNAs, and these are called alphoid DNA, and they are the site where the CEN-H, that is centromeric histone, is attached, and it leads to the formation of centromere. So that was in brief about the satellite, alphoid satellite DNA. So these de novo HSCs are generated, and so how TAR helps in generation of de novo HSC? TAR extricates the desirable length of alphoid satellite DNA, which act as nucleus for the multimerization and ultimately development of the human artificial chromosomes. Thus, the use of TAR cloning advances construction of HSC. Although HSCs were being constructed without TAR2, but this introduction of TAR had advanced as has been reported by Bergman and Ozeki 2012 and 2015 respectively. The most advanced DNA de novo construct of HSC. Yes, here we have got an example. Alpha TET-O. This alpha TET-O HEC had been engineered from a 50 kilobase synthetic alpha DNA. So the de novo synthesis, and I'm telling you repeatedly, is carried by the first step is introduction of a stretch of alpha satellite DNA, which acts as multimerization, which acts as nucleus for multimerization. So most advanced construct is that alpha TET-O. Alpha TET-O is a construct, human artificial chromosome. TET-O, it acts under the influence of tetracycline operator. So it is called TET-O. It has been developed in 2008. So first, we have introduced the 50 kb synthetic alpha set, and then other components are introduced. Kinetochore is attached. It acts as the centromere to which kinetochore is attached, and the human artificial chromosome comes into existence with satellites at with alpha satellite in the center, and leading to the formation of centromeric, or imparting the centromeric characteristic to the artificial chromosomes, and telomeres at the ends, and they have got oocytes too. So you see here genomic DNA with shown promoter. As I have told you earlier, that not only longer stretches of DNA could be carried here, but adjacent regulatory elements will also be carried. So here you have got a very long stretch of DNA with a promoter here, and so this is introduced inside the human artificial chromosome, and it will lead to the expression without any deleterious effects as mentioned here. And ultimately, how we can use this artificial chromosome technology in delivering the desired stretch of DNA, and how that desired stretch of DNA can express. So here you have got human artificial chromosome with the desired gene. So we have introduced it into the mouse embryonic stem cells. So after embryogenesis, this mouse develops into an adult, and it has the human artificial chromosomes inside its body, and we can study the expression in vivo functional analysis, that is the functional analysis inside the cellular system in the body, that will be studied. Now, this can be transferred into the cultured cell too, and by studying the behavior of the cultured cell in the petri dish, that is outside the cell, we can study the behavior of that introduced DNA, or function of that introduced DNA outside the body too, that is in vitro system too. It can be transferred. This chromosome can be transferred to induced pluripotent stem cells. So these are the stem cells are the cells having capability to transform into different types of cells. At the same time, they have the capability to give their own copy. So the stem cells can give their own copy. That is, they can divide to give their another stem cell, another copy of the stem cell, as well as they have the capacity to branch into the different directions of differentiation. So they can differentiate as well as they can self-replicate. So they form the stem, the central cylinder of branching of differentiation. That is, they are the central cells which can differentiate into different types of cells. So they are called stem cells, pluripotent. That is, these stem cells have many potencies. That is, they can develop into a number of different types of cells. So when we introduce into the induced pluripotent stem cells, you say that a particular stem cell has been formed, and when we transplant this stem cell inside the human being, we can study that how the genetic defect of this patient has been rectified, and we can get fibroblasts which are genetically corrected. That is, this man was having some genetic defect. So that genetic defect was due to a stretch of DNA which was not functioning properly. So we have introduced that stretch of DNA which was not properly functioning in the patient, but it is properly functioning here. We have constructed artificial chromosome, human artificial chromosome, with properly functioning stretch of DNA, and we have introduced in the induced pluripotent stem cells. And so these have entered inside the man, inside the patient, inside the human body, which had deficient DNA, and now they have led to the correction of that deficiency, rectification of that genetic deficiency. And so you can say it is a type of gene therapy. Here also chromosome transfer is taking place, and these cells are transplantation, these rectified cells are transplanted into the human body, and the patient is recovering. Here also you see that the patient is recovering. So the human artificial chromosomes, you can say, are a big leap in the delivery system. At this moment of time, you can say that they are an ultimate leap in the gene delivery system. They can deliver the gene inside the defective system and thereby rectify the system. That is, we can correct the genetic defect, we can rectify the genetic defect, and that's how we can treat the genetic diseases. We have the potential to treat the genetic diseases, and this system of treatment is called gene therapy. So that's how we have come to the end of our long drawn sessions on the recombinant DNA technology, because recombinant DNA technology is an evolving frontier of our biotechnological sciences. So many new elements are being added. Many new elements have been added recently, and they are still being added. So to discuss and to understand those new techniques, new technologies, and new developments, and the ultimate products of those developments, we had to discuss the recombinant DNA technology and the vector system in particular at great length. So that's how we come to the end of this session, as well as our session concerning the recombinant DNA technology. In the next session, we shall begin with the gene regulation of gene expression in prokaryotes